Hello Steelers, and welcome to this preview of the new Vanguard Normandy board game, Second World War board game by Warlord Games. Warlord Games very kindly sent me a pre-production prototype of this game, which is going to be going out on Kickstarter. It should already be out by the time this video is out anyway. So go and check that out. I will put a link to that in the description down below. I'm not sure how long the Kickstarter is going to be running for, a couple of weeks I think, but go and check it out if you're interested. What I'm going to do in this video is, I haven't actually had a chance to play this yet, but I have read the rules. I do know board games pretty well, so I've got a pretty good idea of how this plays just from reading the rules and just looking at the components and things. But what I want to do is kind of a bit of an overview of the game, how it works, you know, those kind of things, some of the mechanics and the aspects of the game, what you can expect from it. What is it, I hear you cry? Well, first of all, as I said, it's a World War II board game. From first initial appearances, it looks like Memoir 44, but it is quite different to Memoir 44. I played quite a lot of Memoir 44, but it reminded me a little bit of it in some places, but there is quite a bit more difference in this compared to Memoir 44. It's like a next level up, I would have said. Because Warlord have sent me a prototype, I'm going to say here and now that some of the parts that you're going to see in this video may not make it through to the final version. For example, some of these map boards might are only single-sided, but in the actual game these are going to be double-sided. That I do know, and obviously some of the dice, these have only got stickers on, whereas obviously they're going to be properly produced dice in the game itself. So as I say, take that, you know, keep that in mind, but this video is more about the mechanics of the game and just how it plays, and just to give you a bit of an idea. To be honest, I think it looks like quite a fun game. I am a board gamer. This looks like a really nice, I'd say a good entry-level board game for people who haven't played many board games, and also, you know, people who play a lot of war games and don't really play many board games. You can probably see beside me, I do have a huge pile of board games that we play regularly here at Steel Towers. So I was quite fascinated by this when I saw that Warlord were producing it. So I was very happy and very pleased that they sent me a copy through. So I'm going to say once again, thank you to Warlord for providing this. But let's get this camera set up properly. We'll turn around and we'll look at what the kind of things we get, what we get in this game, what the mechanics are, and just give you a bit of a brief overview, really. So what I've done here is basically I've set up the game as played by the Americans. Both sides will have these battle boards. As I say, again, looking at the graphics that are on the Kickstarter, I think the design of this is going to slightly change from what I have here. But we have basically 9 map tiles that you can see here. In this case, I've just set them up with 3 beach tiles and then also some grass tiles. There's some other ones as well. I said it earlier, but these will be double-sided in the actual game itself, so you better flip them over. What you do is, I'm not sure if there's actual particular scenarios in this. I'm fairly sure there may be, but you basically put these out randomly, build up the map between you, and then on each of these they have obviously terrain. So there's buildings, there's forests, there's hills, there's roads, there's all the kind of things you would expect to find, you know, in a typical battlefield. What is at the centre of each of these tiles is the strategic point, and the game is basically about capturing these tiles. So you start off, in this case the Americans will already be in control of these 3 tiles. They will then, as the game progresses, hopefully attack and control the opposite ones. The Germans obviously get a vote as well, so they will be attacking back from that side. So it's a 2-player game, 1 against 1. Moving figures about and units about. Each time you capture one of these tiles, you will gain the actual tile here, one of these tile markers, which are over here. These have different numbers on them. So the yellow is a victory point, the 2 is a replenishment point. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. You play the game basically with figures, with units, so each of your units are made up of pretty much as you would expect in a Second World War game. So here are German soldiers. Let me just see if I don't know if we can get that into focus or not. I'm not sure if if it will do or not, but you get basically 3 German soldiers on there. The same with the Americans, they have 3 soldiers on there to basically show their strength. We also have various other things, so we have machine gun units. We also have here bazookas for the Americans, for example, and we also have various vehicles. So there's a Honey Stewart, we have a couple of Greyhounds, I think they are, for the Americans there, Jeeps. We also have Shermans and M10 tank destroyers. For the Germans on the other side, they have Stugs. They have various SDKFZ 250s and 251s, and also 222s, reconnaissance vehicles, and of course ubiquitous Tiger as well. So you know, most of these units are as basically as figures. You can paint these up if you want. They are on actual bases, and the bases are designated as to which unit they are on your operations board over here. So let's have a quick look at this operations board. So the way it works, as I say, is you start off basically with a command unit. You also get a rifleman unit, and then you get to choose an extra depending on how far your supply is. Your supply starts on 1, is basically you get to put in another unit at level 1 supply. In this case, I've just put a rifleman unit in here, and then use tokens to designate which is which. So that is the white unit, that is the pink unit there, so I know where they are on when they appear on the board. The game itself is actually played through stages, and it is the countdown clock, or the timer for the game, is designated by these weather cards. Now these, you decide which type of weather it's going to be, stormy, clear or cloudy, and basically you always start with the all clear here. It says starts in play, that always plays, but then you take the other cards. So let's say we're playing with the stormy ones, you take those, shuffle those up, and then they will be drawn when one or the other player has reached the number of victory points on the weather card, and these are also designated here by these tokens later on. So first of all clear, the first player to get to 25, this card is then flipped, and you turn over the next card in your pile, whichever one this one is. And then these have various things that happen throughout that turn while this is in play. So it says here non-mechanized units have -1 activations, basically. So you know, it's obviously blustery wind. So that's how that plays. Now a nice little trick here is that when you turn over these weather cards, there is also an underdog card as well, which each player has, and these are the ones for the Germans, for example, just to give you these, to show you these. So the underdog card. If you have 5 victory points or less than your opponent, when that card is flipped, you get to play one of these cards as well. And then you have these stress tokens which you spend on the underdog cards, and they basically just either resupply you, give you extra units, extra attacks, or you know, faster movements, that kind of thing. So it just kind of balances out if somebody is trailing on the victory points when those weather cards are turned. But that's basically the game timer, and as I say, the first person to reach 75 victory points is the winner of the game. Basically that's what you're working towards, but the weather will move through as well. And as I say, you're gaining victory points literally by capturing areas. So as you capture these areas here, it shows you this is the bottom left here, this is the bottom middle, then bottom right, and then we've got the middle left, middle, then middle right, top left, middle, top middle, and then top right as well. So those are the ones, and they're obviously going to trade between the two players as you capture more and you push forward, and then you get these. Also on these as well, we have replenishment points, and this tells you basically how many spends you have for that turn. And the replenishment points can be spent on units, they can be spent on getting new units onto here. I'm going to talk about those in a little while. They can also be spent on upgrading as well your supply. This is your supply token over here, or your supply tracker over here. Now when you start the game, you can only put units, and units come in cards as well as the actual figure themselves, and you can only fill up as many of these spaces that are unlocked. So for example, if when you're starting the game, we can put units in here, here and here. We can put one in here, and we can also put one in here, so we can only actually get 2 extra units compared to when we start. And the symbols here show you what kind of units they can be. So here, this is a spotter. Here is a mechanized or a motorized unit, so like a Willys Jeep or something. Here, motorized or foot, so infantry, anti-tank infantry, or a rifle unit, for example. Now, as you unlock, you get better and better things. So here we've got artillery. When you unlock this one, it unlocks both of these, so now we have tanks, and then we also have spotters and another wheeled vehicle, and then over here we've got artillery, tanks, and then these just fill up here. But these cost an amount of the replenishment that you have here, so you could, in your first turn, if you wanted to, immediately spend your 6 replenishment points, just immediately take that off, and then you're open for the next turn to be able to start putting more cards in there if you want it. Then you would flip that over and just stick it on here, just to show how much your supply is as well. So that's kind of how it works. So basically what you're trying to do is trying to capture terrain to get replenishment, to be able to upgrade your actual units, and then also push forward and capture more. So it's a bit of a two-way game in that sense. So that's how the game kind of plays. As I say, first one to 75 points is the winner. We have these cards. I'm going to quickly just run through the German ones. So we've got, these are the units themselves. So I'll show you the American ones, because I can show you how these work here. So for example, machine gun group it's got a binocular symbol on it, so that can actually go in there if you wanted to, because there is a binocular symbol there, so we could put a machine gun group down if we've got enough to spend on it. Let's have a look. Riflemen, you'll see here we've got the boots, so that could go in there, for example. And then you would also add your units on here as well. This is before they deploy onto the tabletop itself. And then you just put a marker down just so we know which is which. So we'll put that down to show it's the black one, and then we also put down a foot one just to show it's that one as well. Sorry, I probably got the wrong one there, but no, it's this one here. Just so we know which is which when they're on the table, so that links back here. But this is how it works. So you really want to be filling up as much as you can on here with these cards. So depending on what they release in future, they may actually provide you with new cards that you can actually use in the game as well. So what we've got Willys Jeeps, we've got combat engineers, bazooka teams, AT guns, 57mm AT guns, motor group, Greyhound, more Greyhounds, sniper, US Airborne, the M3 Stuart, the M4 Sherman, and then M2A1 howitzer, and then also the Wolverine as well. So the Germans, I'll just quickly go through those as well for you. So we've got the HQ there, we've got the Grenadiers, we've got BMW R75 motorbikes, Maschinengewehr, so the MG34, Sturm Pioneer, we've got the Suma S35, the stolen French tanks, the 222s, as mentioned, the Pak 36s, Granatwerfer, the Hanomag, so quite a lot for the Germans here, the Hanomag, the Schocktruppen, Panzerschreck, the Stug, the Nobelwerfer, and then of course your Tiger E as well. You basically put tokens into a bag, so it's quite similar to bolt action. So in this case, the Americans would have 5 tokens. So you put these into the bag with the Germans, and everybody, you pull out a token, and whoever pulls out, whichever side is pulled out, they get to activate one of their units. So, you know, say for example, these riflemen over here, we pull them out, we activate them. They then get a certain amount of action points to activate, which they can use to move, to fight, to do all the usual things. Shooting is pretty simple. It's basically, it shows you how far you can fire on your card. For the rifleman, obviously it's only one square, and what dice you roll as well. And then depending on what you roll on the dice, if it's a plus or a minus, is the amount of damage it does to the enemy. The enemy then has a certain amount of armor saves, and if they save against it, then it's basically, you know, blanks out. Otherwise, if you can maybe cause various hits on them, and you have hit tokens for that. So obviously things like infantry are going to be quite easily damaged, whereas a Tiger tank is going to take a little bit more than a couple of men with a rifle firing at it. But then you also have, as well, on top of that, you have your commander as well, and he has a certain amount of command points per turn. It's 3 in general, so basically he can spend these if he's actually on the tabletop itself, and then he can get he can even do something himself, or he can get units around him to do things, and they have to spend command points to do them. But they all have basically a command activation as well. So for example, let's have a look. It says full auto, this is for the machine gun group. It costs you 1 command point in your turn, so you would take your 1 command point off, and then it says target to cover is -1, so it's just giving you a bonus on firing for that turn as a commander. So you can use these. It gives you a little bit more flavour than just having the units, the basic units, and they all do different things as well. And in a nutshell, that is basically the game. It's to capture terrain, which in turn gives you resources, which in turn allows you to unlock and open up the forces under your command, and basically, you know, win the game by getting those 75 command points. It looks like a lot of fun. Like I say, it reminded me quite a lot of Memoir 44 when I first saw it. It's very different to Memoir 44, and you know, I think it will play quite nicely. If it's something that you are interested in, like I say, go and check out their Kickstarter. It's still going to be running for the next couple of weeks at least, once this video has been released. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, of course, and also check out my other videos as well. I've got quite a lot, especially on the Second World War and on board games as well in general. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to try and answer them for you, and I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.